really heartening to worship in a community that had singing as part of its culture. I think we were all really moved by worshiping with them in that way. We listened to their stories, and they were all just as heartwarming as they were heartbreaking. It was really amazing to listen to such a wide variety of stories and meeting such a wide variety of people.
The College of the Transfiguration was the highlight for me. Being among other seminarians that were from South Africa. Actually, they were from all over Africa. They'd come in to go to school there in Grahamstown, and by far that was the highlight for me of the whole trip. Being around the students, but the high point came when I actually went into the service, sat down, kneeled, prayed with them, worshipped with them, and the Holy Spirit was so among them, and it was so overwhelming. I don't think I felt the Holy Spirit like that in a while. I can't even describe or put it into words really how taken back I was by it. I think I was there maybe 30 seconds before I started crying. And then I looked around the room and noticed that the rest of the seminaries, whether they'll admit it or not, were also crying with me. And it was a powerful experience. I'm just thinking about it, I'm getting a little, emotional about it. But they really know how to worship and show it through music and through praise and through prayer. And when they celebrate in the Lord, they celebrate in the Lord. And by far, that was the highlight for me of the entire trip was their worship service.
Perhaps the most emotional time for me was the worship service at the College of the Transfiguration. The joyous singing, the joyous praise, in combination with an Anglo-Catholic Eucharist. It was truly a remarkable sight to see. A place where I became emotional because I hadn't had that kind of experience here in the United States. I was lucky and blessed to be a part of it.
We had the opportunity to worship with the students of COT in their chapel. And the word that comes to mind for me is joy, and I think that that's the word that came to all of our minds. You were just overwhelmed by that, by the joy in their worship, just through the music and through their prayers. And it made me realize how much we lack that, I think, in our worship here at home, unfortunately. I was overwhelmed by it, and I think especially the music. There was a particular song that has stuck with me today. I find myself singing it in the strangest of places, but it was very simple. It just said, "Be bright in your corner where you are," and those words really stuck with me that day, and they still do. And so I think the joy that I found there is a joy that I hope I keep in my heart now that I'm back, and hopefully can share it with other people.
While we were in Grahamstown, we toured a township just outside of town. That was really hard to see people living in such poverty, so close to a town that had relative, wealth. Sort of a pretty normal town. And to see that poverty and people who had to walk, in this day and age, they still have to walk miles to get their water and bring it back, to get their groceries, whatever they can afford, and bring that back. But it was really neat in that during our tour, we stopped at a church right in the middle of all of that. And I got to go inside and see that church. There was a group of little kids who were teaching each other how to be acolytes, how to stand, when to do what, and so forth. That was really neat. And there's Christ in the middle of all of this poverty.
We had the opportunity to go to a street children's school in Grahamstown. Now this school was unique because it was allowing kids who had no parents, who were off the street, to go to school. You see, education in South Africa is paid for by people. It is not part of a public service. So it's not part of something that everyone gets to go to. And these children were granted the opportunity, and they were granted the opportunity to succeed. I felt honored to be in their presence. And it was truly an amazing experience for me. Kids also got to go to an art class. in which they were able to express their pain and frustration with their lives through art and sculpture. In fact, some of the great sculptures were able to be used as part of people's pay, to learn a trade, to learn a craft, to actually make a life for themselves.
We happened to be in Grahamstown on June 16th, which is National Youth Day, and it was a commemoration, a memorial sort of the day that the 1976 Widow Uprising started with the slaughter of a bunch of students, Hector Peterson being the most famous. And they had turned this very sad, awful occasion into a day to celebrate youth. And that was really, I think that's a really great example of what all of South Africa is trying to do. They have a history that is so torn by violence and hatred, and they're working so hard to not only for reconciliation and for healing, but to move beyond that so that their identity as a nation is not just a country who's torn by a history of violence, but to move forward and to really be a beacon of hope for the world.